My name is Peter Davison. I played the Fifth Doctor, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls.
The tangents as we continue all the way to episode 321 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Sir, is this the face of a bat who would lie to you? Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we're doing with the ritual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany and Troy.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Sally from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello everyone.
Hi everybody.
Hello.
It's a new week.
Is
Hopefully
indeed.
everybody's
Yes.
doing okay. Other than the allergies.
Mhm.
Oh,
And rip my glasses. Luckily I had
poor,
Oh,
Brittany,
poor
poor
Brit. Oh.
Brittany had a Harry Potter moment.
oh.
No
I
spello tape to be found.
did. Or Reparo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oculus Reparo.
Seriously.
Sorry, I have a wand, but I don't think it works at that distance. So, sorry. So.
I have a couple of wands and then walk I try. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah. There's just some days where you're like, dang it, why isn't magic real?
Right?
That would make so many things just so easy, but whatever, here we are.
Yeah. Oh. Anywho, can you tell we're stalling?
Little
Yeah,
bit.
it's not a good news week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. After last week's show, ugh, and dealing with that, and I
Mhm.
realized when I was smack dab in the middle of my, workout on the treadmill at the gym on Saturday and was not really in a position to stop, that watching Prince Philip's funeral maybe wasn't the best choice of entertainment to
Mhm.
help
Oh my
pass
goodness.
the time. It's a good thing that
Yeah.
I still wear a mask even on the gym equipment when it's not necessarily mandatory when you're actively working out, because there were several times where my mask doubled as a Kleenex,
Mhm.
wiping my
Mm,
tears. It was beautiful. It was
Mhm.
beautiful
Yeah.
service and everything, and they had gorgeous weather, which is nice. So you can watch the entire thing on the internet. The royal family's YouTube channel has got just the pomp and circumstance, and then the BBC's got a whole bunch of commentary beforehand, which I listened to a good chunk of it. Some very interesting stories that people told.
Mhm.
So the sad occasion, yet one for the history books. We could say that
Mhm.
I was there, or at least I was alive when X event happened. So, anyways, we'll stick with the unfortunately 10 o'clock news, with a few passings, unfortunately. First up, you may not know him by name, but you would know his work. Felix Sela, who played, among other things, Cousin It on the 60s Addams Family TV series, has passed away at the age of 84 after a battle with pancreatic cancer.
Ooh.
And I just found the 60s Addams Family on Pluto TV just this last week.
And those who are from the 80s know him as the voice of Twiggy. Beep, 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 beep. From Buck Rogers.
Yep.
That's how I grew up recognizing him. Not that I didn't watch the Addams Family reruns growing up, but I never put two and two together until reading that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's only roles for or so many actors, I'm sure, during that time period that could do what he could do because of his size, because he was only 4 feet tall. So that made him adaptable for certain roles, including the hang gliding Ewok in Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
So there's another one you would know him from.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. He was born in Italy. And he came to the U.S. in the 50s and first started off as a performer for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. He was a trapeze artist, a tumbler, and a bareback horse rider. Oh, that's kind of awesome.
That is quite the resume.
That would explain why he probably had no issue hang gliding as an Ewok.
Exactly.
Like, absolutely, string me up.
Right?
Have you seen my resume?
Yes. You want me to jump off this thing? Absolutely. Just tell me where you want me to go. So he was in the last few years, he's been a pretty regular on the convention circuit. So there were several posts from different conventions and other people in the convention circuit that have encountered him, that made posts. So that was nice. And then this next one, Helen McCroy, who, as we were talking about Harry Potter and wands and magic, I think those of us, at least of a certain age, know her best as Narcissa Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies. Has passed away at the age of 52 after a battle with cancer.
Yes, I saw that. I actually saw it on a Doctor Who Instagram, because she was also Vampires of Venice. Yeah, she's
right.
the mother vampire. Signora Calvieri. I always forget the.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right.
Yeah,
there's something real close to it.
Yeah, I was just like, oh man, and like 52 is not that old, really.
No.
So that one, cancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
No. I don't know anyone who is. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard when you hear these things, but she definitely left behind a memorable body of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. Actually, according to Helena Bonham Carter, McCrory she had been cast as Bellatrix. When Bellatrix was going to make her first on-screen appearance, and Helen had to drop out because she ended up falling pregnant, and that opened up for Helena Bonham Carter to take over. So then when they needed to cast Narcissa, that's when Helen got to play the
I think she was better as Narcissa, honestly.
I think so. I really think somebody like Helena Bonham Carter was probably ideal for for Bellatrix.
Yeah. So it worked out either way. She was still in Harry Potter.
Yep.
And probably in the role that it's probably better.
Yeah.
She just had the snootiness down
Mhm.
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
well.
Yep. So, and then she's also, like we said, she's been in Doctor Who and the Peaky Blinders. For
I
all
thought
of
that's a good one, and like
yeah.
I have
thinking
to. I
about
just
trying that
haven't
one.
sat down to watch it yet.
Yeah.
That's always the trick, finding time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've seen this recently, like in the last year, and for some reason I apparently completely blanked that she was in it, but she plays the wife of Prime Minister Tony Blair in The Queen, the film with what's her name that plays the Queen? I can't think of her. I
Helen
can see her.
Mirren?
Yes, Helen Mirren playing the Queen, but Michael Sheen plays Tony Blair. So
Mhm.
she was Michael Sheen's wife in The Queen. So
Oh.
It all
I do
comes
wonder why you
around.
decided to watch that.
mhm. It all comes full circle.
Indeed, it does.
All right. So there's those, and then one more, a little closer to home, unfortunately. I can't believe we're having to just after um, just after Kathleen passing.
Mhm.
This is crazy.
Yep.
But Chris Mao, the other half of the kind of the creators and owners of the Blue Box Cafe in Elgin, Illinois, just outside of Chicago, passed away over the weekend at the age of 54 after battling melanoma for the last year and a half. Again, cancer. Cancer sucks. There's a reason
Yes,
KJ
right.
has founded KJ's Cancer Sucks, because it does.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you remember us talking about when his wife Kathleen passed away suddenly, and I think seemingly unexpectedly, what, a month ago?
Yeah.
If that,
It's
it's
not. Yeah.
yeah. And you know, I had yet to make it out to Blue Box, but you know, we had Chris on the show a couple of years ago, as a guest, and yeah, no, Kathleen died in February, so yeah, it's been a couple of months, but still,
Still, that is
yeah.
real close.
Mhm.
yeah. So, there is, as we're recording this, there's supposed to be open to public visitation Thursday at the funeral home in Elgin, and then the service will be this Friday. But I'll have link in the show notes for information to that. So if you happen to, if you're in the area, was a fan of the cafe. The cafe was closed over the weekend. They are supposed to be open, I think, through Thursday, and then they're going to close for the. I'm assuming so. The employees and stuff can go to the service and the like. And beyond that, the future of the cafe is, I guess, up in the air now that both owners are passed. So.
Yeah. Well, shoot.
Yeah. Hopefully, with luck and hopefully circumstances are such as that the cafe can continue to be open and run, because I would like to get up there at some point. It's a Doctor Who themed restaurant. I mean, hello.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things that's like you hear about and you're like, oh, I'd love to go see it, or go visit it, and for whatever reason, either you make it or you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, in some part it's a little bittersweet, just because. Yeah, but at the same time, it's all.
Yeah.
Did they? I don't know. Did they have kids or anything, or?
I don't
Are you-
believe so.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So, and I've been keeping up with Rob Southgate has been really, really good about keeping posting updates and stuff. And if anyone just kind of in solidarity, he's been asking for people to post selfies of themselves, preferably with a sonic screwdriver if you have one, but anything Doctor Who related you may have. And I'll put in the show notes. I forget what the hashtag that Rob said to use, just kind of as a community type thing. So if folks want to do that as well, I'll put the hashtag in the show notes. So yeah. Oh, and I will keep my eyes and ears peeled for any updates, as far as the cafe's future is concerned. So I hate to see a good business go under because of unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, for sure.
So support local, support your local family-owned businesses, folks.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Well, let's move on to things more happy. So we've got from Marvel as a I don't know, this may have been intentionally planned, but is in, I guess, in somewhat celebration of the Star's birthday, because it happens to be his birthday today. He was like, best birthday present ever. We have gotten our first look at Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings coming this September for entry into the MCU. And oh my goodness, it looks like it's gonna be fun. Just lots and lots of fun. So I know a lot of people did not like it and panned it, but it reminds me of Iron Fist. So if you manage to sit through the Iron Fist series on Netflix, hope
maybe this one will be better if you didn't like Iron Fist.
Yeah.
So
it's all the same universe, but yeah, it's if you've ever been a fan of kung fu movies, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, and the like, this
will be right up your alley.
This is going to be right up your alley. So even something like, it's not necessarily an accurate comparison, but even something like Power Rangers,
Well, that last scene where he's like posing on the subway in the trailer, I was like, that is totally a Power Rangers thing to do.
Yeah.
That's what I thought of. So if I'm not supposed to, oh well.
Yeah,
that's what I thought of.
Yeah. Okay. So I've watched the trailer a couple of times, but did any of you guys catch the Disney Easter egg?
I did not.
Missed it.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
Enlighten us, please.
Okay. It's a real quick shot of, because it's like this whole, like, his father is like, I let you live your life, being normal or whatever, and so shots of him like working and going to the grocery store and hanging out with I don't know if this Katie gal is like his girlfriend or what, played by Awkwafina, who looks like she's going to be hilarious in this. She's funny. but there's a shot of them at karaoke. You can see that like he and Aquafina are standing next to each other. I think they got microphones in their hands, and just like laughing and singing. It's a real quick shot, but you can see the screen behind them with the lyrics, because karaoke, they put up the lyrics for you.
Mm-hmm.
The lyrics, it's a quick shot, and it's only like one line from the song, but it's obvious the lyrics. It's A Whole New World from Aladdin. I'm like, wait a minute, I know those lyrics, because it's like over, sideways, and under is like the line or whatever.
Okay.
I'm like, I know that song. Well played, Marvel. Disney Easter egg. Now that's how you do like a Disney Easter egg in Marvel.
Not
You see
the
what
hid-
you
not the
did there.
hidden
Yeah.
Mickeys.
Yeah, well, there may be hidden Mickeys on there or something. I don't know about hidden Mickeys in the MCU. I've never really like looked into that. It probably do exist.
There's some for those who are really sharp-eyed.
Yes.
I'm
Find stuff like that.
Yeah, but that was just
looking on
it's
YouTube.
yeah. So now when you watch the trailer, it's a real quick shot of he and Aquafina at karaoke, and it's like, ha ha, Aladdin. So I was like, ha ha, Easter egg.
Like, I know what that is.
Yes. It's like, for once I didn't miss something. Yay me.
Pat
I can
yourself
on
on
the
the
back
back
of
watch
that
this trailer.
Yes, exactly. I'm like Captain America. I understood that reference. But yeah, anyway, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings this September. Hopefully won't change.
Yeah, although I really feel like that one we can probably plan on.
I
mean,
think so.
Still write it in pencil, but things
Yeah.
are looking a lot more settled,
Yes.
especially for the fall.
Yep.
So,
But yeah, I'm excited. I have really know nothing about Shang-Chi and like the comic book origins and all that, and just like with everything else, I don't really care because I'm here for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like
Saying like I
It's-
haven't even.
it's like I'm really excited to have something to look forward to at the movie theater.
That too.
Something that is actually
that
might
certainly helps.
actually be worth going out of my house to see a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oy.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially the Marvel movies, with all the
Yeah.
big action set pieces and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, the bigger the screen, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's
yay!
exciting.
Yay! That was a nice thing to wake up to and be like, Shang-Chi, and like, ooh, on a Monday.
Yeah, usually they don't drop those till like Tuesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
Right.
But then they were all like Simu Liu, who's playing Shang-Chi. He was like, best birthday present ever, and I'm like, aha, that's what they did
That's
on a
why.
Monday.
There
Happy
you go.
birthday to you. Happy birthday to us. Or it's like,
Mhm.
happy birthday to you. Thanks for the present for everybody.
Yes. Thanks for sharing your birthday present.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep.
Happy and birthday to the rest of us.
Yep.
Exactly. That's how you do it.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, all right. So that's really it for news. Some housekeeping in the tangentially related Five-ish Fangirls podcasting universe, I guess.
Yep.
Yes.
Gold standard. If you're a Patreon supporter, got a new episode in the feeds.
Yes, you did.
With special guest Holly talking
Yep.
about again Ewoks, Star
Yes.
Wars, Return of the Jedi.
Uh-huh.
So that was a fun discussion. It's always fun to
It
talk
sure
Star
was.
Wars. So
Yes.
Ewoks, and I think we may have finally convinced Nick to watch other Star Wars stuff because he's not a convert quite yet.
No.
So
I think we're slowly edging him closer.
Yeah, I think he's finally gonna sit down and watch Mandalorian. I think.
Mhm.
I don't know that
Hopefully.
it'll have the same impact as.
I think he'll still appreciate for what it is.
Okay.
Though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then when I hope that's the case for him in Italy. I don't know about like other regions as far as Disney Plus, but he also sounded excited to learn that the 2 Ewok movies were available on Disney Plus too. So, Battle of Endor and Caravan of Courage.
Yes. Oh, my childhood.
goodness.
Yes.
He's like, I feel 8 again.
Yeah.
Well, I was like 6 or 7.
Oh, 6 or 7. I was guessing. Okay.
Yeah. It might have been closer to 7, 8 with the one with Wilford Brimley.
Good
So,
old
yes.
Wilford.
Yes.
Yes. Still a young child at heart.
Yes. So that's available for Patreon supporters. So, and yeah, you could become a Patreon supporter now and you would get the backlog. So it's not like you're missing out. You can join at any time and get the backlog of Patreon episodes. And then for just your regular podcast feeds, wherever you get your podcast, back in the, I guess to steal from Big Finish, the main line. We finish out the 1940s finally with the our 22nd Best Picture winner, All the King's Men. So we're going to now move to the 1950s, where at least some of the Best Picture nominees, if not the winners, are in color.
Now in color.
Yes, that was an actual piece of. I think I forgot to mention it actually in the episode, but that would be the last year that all of the Best Picture nominees were in black and white. So going forward, at least one of the nominees will be in color. So winners, maybe not so much. There's still going to be a lot of black and white in my future, unfortunately, but at least for this coming week episode. But thankfully, the episode after that, it's in full color.
Yay! Yay!
Thank goodness. So.
Now I will put in a little caveat, because to Kill a Mockingbird, that one Best Picture in the 60s, I believe.
Yeah,
and that one's in black and white. And it is an excellent movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys are gonna like it, but
I remember watching it because we watched the movie after we read the book in high school. I loved the book. And
I remember liking the movie.
And the movie I loved
in
too,
high school
like,
or whatever. I had to watch it. So
yeah, it was one of those. I was like, when I was like, I have to own this book and I have to own the movie.
Yeah.
And there are very few that I'm like, I need both. Yeah. And that is one of them.
Yeah.
I remember
no. It's go ahead.
I was gonna say I remember in high school when we watched the movie after we read the book, and a bunch of my classmates like, "Oh, it's black and white. We're gonna hate it," and then they end up loving it.
No.
It's not that I just like a black and white. I'm just, after 22.
No. That is true.
Other
After a while, you're like
21, because Gone with the Wind was at least in color.
I was gonna say Gone with the Wind was in color.
21 of 22.
Right.
Black and white. Or sepia, really. I think Wings was more sepia than black and white because it had that yellowish tint to it, but still. It's like, I'm ready for some color. Especially considering there have been lots of other movies that are starting to be released at least in that same time period that are in color. So it's like,
you're like, come on, Academy, get with the program.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So, but that's my own personal. issue. So, but anyway, so that's available in your feeds wherever. Like I said, that's the gold standard mainline.
And Ewoks are in the Patreon feed, so
Yeah.
there you go.
All right, moving on to feedback. So we got a couple of messages of feedback from Shalane because we did hold off on feedback last week. So did get a little backed up, but that's okay. So she says she is excited for the new Space Jam movie. You and me both, girlfriend. She loved the first one growing up. And yeah, she does. She likes all forms of Disney, or animation, Disney, Looney Tunes, Scooby-Doo, all the like. And she agrees with my assessment. It does kind of look like Ready Player One and a Warner Brothers movie pushed together. So yeah, and Ralph Breaks the Internet. That's a good good comparison too, with all the different IPs and stuff in it. So yeah. She's also excited for Zendaya to be playing Lola. I think Zendaya will probably be a good Lola. So she's also excited for the Loki series. It looks so good. Yes.
Yep. Agree 100% with that.
That will be a fun one.
Yeah. And then talking about the upcoming final seasons of The Crown. Appropriate. I know some of the casting we knew already. I don't think I knew this though. Did we know that Jonathan Pryce was going to be playing Prince William or Prince Philip?
I saw it in an article today. It was talking about Imelda Staunton playing the Queen.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah,
because I remember us talking about it, and we were all like, because I think of Imelda Staunton, we all go to Harry Potter.
Yeah, and Professor Umbridge, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I had not heard that Jonathan Pryce was supposed to be playing Prince Philip, so that's I can kind of see that though. Yeah.
It'll work.
Yeah.
Speaking of Prince Philip, I read a little trivia thing that it seems obvious now, but I didn't realize until I read it that Prince Philip from Sleeping Beauty was named after that Prince Philip. I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
I feel like I heard that but forgot, and now I'm remembering because you just said so. Which now I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
So it's like, if you hear somebody, if it's just in conversation, you hear somebody say Prince Philip, and you're like, wait, look and see like what company you're in. Like, are these Disney people? Are we talking about the Disney prince?
Or are we talking about the husband of Queen Elizabeth?
Which member of royalty are we talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing the final seasons of The Crown play out.
Yes, will be interesting.
Yes,
for sure.
I still haven't watched any. I feel so bad. I think for now, right now, I'm gonna wait until the last season comes out. I'm just gonna binge watch all.
You might be waiting a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say you might want to pace yourself too. It's pretty intense in some places.
Yeah.
You're like, I need to take a break and watch something more fluffy.
Yeah.
I was saying like, wait a second.
There's well, even without like the royal family drama, just because of the sheer amount of world history it covers.
Oh, true.
From Elizabeth becoming queen to eventually ending. I think it's going to go up to close to, I think, her Diamond Jubilee, which was 2012-ish.
Yeah, they said they're not going to come all the way to present day.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's a lot of world history.
Right.
Yeah,
just things happening in the world that, sometimes directly affected, the crown, and in some cases didn't, but they were still keeping, tabs on
they were
things.
Still,
yeah,
world leaders, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll change my mind and start it.
Start, if you don't want to binge it, just kind of start.
Yeah.
Start slow.
Yeah, just do one season and then go and watch something else for a while and then come back do another season. Because you got 4 seasons right now to watch. So, and then there's 2 more coming.
I'll tell myself that now, like, if I start, like, just do 1 season, knowing me, by the time season 1 is over, like, I'm going to have to start season 2 right now.
Well, there you go.
Well, that's between you and your play button on Netflix. So
yes. If you start arguing with the Netflix box or the Netflix app, oh my gosh, then you might have some problems. But anyway, The Crown.
Yep. So, well, speaking of royalty, and,
I was gonna say,
and world events, we are gonna stick with people who wear crowns, although slightly further back in history.
Well, they are related.
They are. Yes. If you go back to Queen Victoria.
Yes, to the point where actually, where we mentioned Louis Mountbatten last week, he was actually sweet on Maria Romanov. Maria Nikolaevna is how the naming convention in Russia. But anyway, we're talking about the movie Anastasia, and we'll probably touch upon some of the historical aspects of.
We're gonna have to, just because they really had to. I mean, this is a fantastical story anyway. It's more fairy tale than real life because there's magic and a talking bat. And,
I always used to defend that for that movie.
Things like that involved. But they also use stuff from actual history that did occur, but they really had to, like, this is not a Disney movie. This is a 20th Century Fox. This was actually Fox Animation Studios, which they developed. It was actually their first movie.
Yes.
From the official animation studio. So, and then, it ended up being one of Don Bluth's most, like, financially successful movies
it was
his
like
entire career.
His first, so I read somewhere, like, it was his first financially successful movie since All Dogs Go to Heaven. And this was probably, I have to remember, I think this might have been his last one that was actually really successful, because Titan AE was, we don't talk about that one financially. I like that movie, but the fallout from it was but now Anastasia, if you're coming into this thinking you're going to get a historical biopic type of thing, you're going to be severely disappointed.
No, but I do have a recommendation, though, if you would like that.
if that's what you're looking for, and I have put some books you can read and some other resources that, because honestly, so this movie I saw, I can't remember if I saw it in theaters, but I remember seeing it close to when it came out, and I loved it. I have loved it ever since it came out. It's one of my absolute favorite animated movies, and the music is great. I love the story. I kind of like that they kind of shied away from the real Russian Revolution and all that stuff, because it is so dark and so horrific when you find out what happened. although later I was like, oh, Anastasia, I knew that this was not a historically accurate depiction of it. But I'm like, I'm interested, like, what is the real story? And it's fascinating and really sad, but fascinating.
Yes.
So but no, it's so. I mean, even at the beginning of the movie, I rewatched it last night. When they have Angela Lansbury talking about, how life was like before the curse, or Rasputin. So they introduced Rasputin from the beginning of there, and it's like he sold his soul for the power to destroy the Romanov family. It's like, okay, this is a fairy tale version of it. Go with it. So they do not pretend to be anything other than what it is. So enjoy it. But it's so it's the story of Anastasia. She's the youngest daughter of the Tsar Nicholas and Tsarina Alexandria, and in the Russian Revolution it took place in 1918, but in the movie it happens in 1916. Let's see, like, they don't even get the dates right, and I kind of think that's on purpose. But the revolution happened.
There had been unrest in Russia for quite a long time, but
I'm just
First World War was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Pretty much. Like, if you read, I believe it's the Romanov Sisters by Helen Rappaport. I have a link to it in the show notes. That one talks about, like, there was all this unrest and stuff before the war, and then the war kind of put it on I don't want to say put it on pause, but it kind of put it to the back burner.
The focus kind of moved.
The focus moved around. But as far as politically, Nicholas was not a very good Tsar, but he was an excellent father. If he could have just been a dad and taking care of his family, it would have been just fine. There
was I guess probably the easiest way to do this is to just go through the movie and maybe talk about
that's what I was trying to
what
do.
was actually happened what actually happened in real life. Because otherwise we could get really because the dates and stuff don't necessarily match. Because Nicholas was heir to the throne, and they didn't really have any other options because that's the way it was set up. And his father was like this big, like, burly bear of a man, the big beard and muscles and tall and very intimidating. He was really good, like, military leader and strategist and stuff. And to put it bluntly, a lot of people considered his heir, Nicholas, to kind of be an idiot. When it came to official things. The knowledge required to rule. And they're
for whatever reason, it just did never, none of that political ruling stuff never clicked with him. And I mean, there were things that were going on. This is my opinion on Russia in general. Their culture is beautiful. The music, the literature, the art. I mean, I've put together a Pinterest board of just of things, photos of the Romanovs and some artwork and other things, and their dresses, their clothes is it's gorgeous. There's artwork. Russia, their culture is gorgeous. Their politics are garbage. And this is true throughout history. But
their reach at this time was ridiculous. Like when Nicholas became Tsar, he was the Romanov dynasty essentially was like the largest, like, single monarchy in the world. And we're talking Russia, but it's not like Russia today. Like, if you look at a map, Russia, the Romanov kind of reach, I think in one documentary I watched, he essentially was ruler of like 1/3 of the world's land mass.
Yeah, and when because they'll use the term emperor or empress of all the Russias, and so it was like kind of like sort of like how Germany wasn't unified, like because it was like Prussia and what was the other one? There was like these little provinces, and it was all kind of
there's
Germany.
a lot of places that don't exist now on the map.
Yeah. Russia was kind of the same way in a way, but anyway, so the movie, starts off with they're celebrating their 300th anniversary, whereas in real life it was 500 years, but whatever, we won't quibble with that. And the whole story starts off with Dowager Empress Marie, Nicholas's mother, Anastasia's grandmother. She's played by Angela Lansbury. She's narrating, and she's kind of, reminiscing about, there's this time of, palaces and parties, and we're celebrating, and it was a good time. And my granddaughter Anastasia, she didn't want me to go back to Paris, so she gives her a gift on this during this ball, this celebration of this anniversary. And Empress Marie gives Anastasia this music box that it turns on with this necklace that says "Together in Paris." But then Rasputin crashes the party, and he curses the Romanovs to die within 2 weeks. He says you will die within the fortnight. And it's like and Christopher Lloyd plays Rasputin, so it's big and bombastic, and he's the animated villain of the movie, and he is they pull no punches with this. And yes, he's sold his soul.
Campy.
It is.
Yes.
And
the thing is like,
it's
the thing is that
campy.
Yeah, as fantastical as this movie is, and obviously like Rasputin selling his soul probably was he may have done something where he thought he sold his soul. I don't know.
Who knows? Rasputin in real life, he's a
this is
work.
For it is being is seemingly over the top. It's actually a pretty accurate portrayal of the real Rasputin. He really was like extremely
cuckoo.
Well, that too, but like he was extremely like flamboyant, and he loved the party, and he loved to hang out, like have like he was a known like philanderer. he loved drinking and hanging out with the ladies, and so he enjoyed the attention that came from the kind of the mystique of being a sorcerer or whatever, mystic.
He was supposed to be like not really a priest, but some kind of holy religious, someone who could heal, quote unquote, Alexei, the youngest boy, because he was like a lot of the royals across Europe. He was a hemophiliac. Which we could go into that. That's another rabbit hole to go down. So, but he was sickly, and
that's what happens when you leave things in the genetic line and don't diversify with your genetics.
Yeah, that was
stuff gets passed down.
It's like, you want to keep the blood pure? Well, that's what happens, guys. But anyway, but the movie does not touch on any of this because really, what Don Bluth and I believe it was Gary Coleman. I swear it was
it's Gary Goldman.
Sorry.
Yes.
Like,
every time I see it, though, I for some reason I see the Gary, and I want to drop the G on his last name and think it's Gary Oldman, and I'm like, no, that's someone completely different.
So is Gary Coleman. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, so Don Bluth and company thought that the real story was just too dark for. But this is what they wanted to do. And if a story is too dark for Don Bluth,
it's dark.
This is a guy who brought
us.
Still
traumatized from All Dogs Go to Heaven. So
this is a guy who brought us Rats of Nim and American Tail and Land Before Time. If it's too dark for him, wow. Okay. Yeah. So Rasputin.
That's like saying Tim Burton. So it'd be like if Tim Burton was like too much black.
Yeah. And be like, what is it, just a black piece of paper?
Yeah.
But anyway, so the curse comes, and basically it takes the form of these little sprites, these little evil sprites, I guess, encouraging the people, the unrest, to storm the palace. It is implied that they murdered, that they killed the royal family. This is in the movie. But Anastasia runs back for her music box that she left in her room, and her grandmother runs after her. And a young servant boy, sneaks him out of the servants' quarters, which is, this door in the wall. And he gets him out and stops the people from trying to kill him. But she leaves the music box behind, and the boy Dimitri ends up with it. And then Anastasia and her grandmother run out of the city. Rasputin tries to catch him, but he falls in the ice. And Bartok's just kind of like, sorry. And Bartok the bat,
Yeah.
And then Anastasia,
albino bat,
yeah.
And then Anastasia and her grandmother try to escape on the train. Her grandmother makes it on the train. Anastasia does not. She falls, hits her head, and it's next time we see her, she's at an orphanage and she has no idea.
And it's been 10 years.
And she's leaving the orphanage because she's too old to be there. And Comrade Flemingkoff has gotten her a job. Yes.
It's just I wonder how many times, how often that name has gone over people's heads. Flemingkoff.
Fleming, yes. Yeah, so she's a peach. Anyway, and then Anastasia, Anya. It's obvious it's Anastasia because she's the protagonist. It's in the name of the movie.
Yeah. There's so many things there that I wish they kind of expanded upon. Like, where did she get the name Anya from? Like,
yes,
is that was that like she thought, like, when she was found, because supposedly she was just found wandering the streets.
Yeah,
after falling and hitting her head and like apparently forgetting her entire life up to that point. I mean, it's like, she has the necklace from her grandmother around her neck that apparently she got to keep, but then she goes by the name Anya. It's like, well, where did that come from? Because that's awfully close to her actual name.
Yeah. It could just be like that's all she could remember, or it's I don't know how amnesia works. This is convenient fairy tale amnesia, because there's there's this whole big musical number about a rumor in St. Petersburg, and they're all whispering it because they don't want the people in charge to find out that they're and I've only realized this recently, because as a kid I was like, well, why is it a big deal? I mean, but then I was like, oh right, if any mention of during the Soviet Union, any mention of the royal family was no bueno.
Yeah, because that's ultimately what led to the end of the Romanov line. Is there was an uprising essentially from the the lower classes who were sick and tired of being poor and struggling, and meanwhile you've got this aristocracy that that were extremely opulent. They loved anytime that they did anything, it just had to be over the top with glitz and glamour, and
given the time period, this was that was kind of the time for big and fancy.
The haves and the have-nots, and the have-nots were tired of not having anything. So there was some unrest, and there were people that saw this unrest building up, and they're like, oh, we can take advantage of that and help essentially overthrow the monarchy,
so then we can be in charge and have all the power and the money and the stuff.
And they were doing it under the guise of we will be the ones that will make sure that the little man gets the
we'll hand out all the goods, all the stuff. You just go and keep in your place and do your thing. But anyway,
there's if you know anything about history of this time of year, there's a gentleman by the name of Lenin that's kind of important.
Yeah.
He was one of the people that helped lead the to lead the lower classes and be like, "Come, comrade, I will help." And he helped lead the revolution to overthrow the monarchy, and they eventually forced Nicholas to abdicate the throne, essentially.
Yes, and they were gonna just let him live out his life in exile, but they got twitchy, and
plans changed.
Plans changed.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But anyway, back to Anastasia, the movie. So she gets there's this people think that Anastasia may have survived. They don't really go into how this rumor got started or anything like that, but it's just, I mean, it's, but they,
there were rumors like that in real life. So not just her, but several members of the family,
because there were, because they had relatives all over Europe in the different royal families, and there were I think there were some people planning or trying to make plans to get them out of there.
Yeah,
which is why
there are some other. Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. I would say there's some forensic things that made people think that maybe some of them survived, but we'll get to that.
Yes. So anyway, so that's really where the origins of this story come from is because the revolution was so frenetic, and because the Soviet Union was so secretive about everything about their history, especially history that made them look not very good. So the rumor was like one of the daughters survived, and so for some reason Anastasia, that's the one that was the because they had 4 daughters. Anastasia's the one that the rumor stuck for, and so in the story, Anastasia decides not to go to the fishing village and goes to St. Petersburg to figure out a way to get to Paris, because on the little necklace all it says is "Together in Paris," and that's where she thinks her family must be. So she gets there and she finds out that she needs to see a guy named Dmitri who can help. So he's and he was in the first song, and he's a con artist. He's trying to find a girl to play Anastasia so that they can trick the grandmother, because she's offering this huge reward, 10 million rubles. I mean, to anyone who can reunite her with her granddaughter. So he's like, well, we're just going to hire a girl to play the part, and we'll, by the time the Empress finds out, then we'll be off with our money. So anyway, so Anya goes to the palace, which is where Dmitri and his friend Vlad are squatting, basically, because no one else is living there. And then memories start to come out, and that's where you get that beautiful "Once Upon a December" sequence, where she's just walking through the palace, and it becomes see all the kind of memories of the people coming out, and she's got her sisters come out, and she sees her father. She doesn't know who these people are, but it's all very, very fairy tale, very magical. Then Dmitri and Vlad find her and say, "Hey, you look a lot like Anastasia. Do you want to be our Anastasia?" Or like, "You might be her, so let's go." And you want to go to Paris. Her grandmother's in Paris. Let's go see if you're her. And she has no other way to get there, so she kind of just goes along with it. Go ahead.
And they're kind of training her too for responses, but then she says something, and Dmitri cottons on like, "Ooh,
yeah." Yeah, like Vlad is like, they're talking about teaching her and all these quizzing her on the names of royalty and the details about them, and she blurts out something like, "I recall his yellow cat," and they're like, "We didn't tell her that."
Yeah.
And it so you can tell things are starting to come back to her slowly, and she doesn't really realize it. And then along the way, Rasputin is in limbo, and Bartok takes gets dragged down to limbo by the reliquary. That realizes, and they realize the reason that he's stuck in limbo is because his curse hasn't been done, because Anastasia's still alive, so he has to kill her in order for him to go move on with his death. So
the animation of Rasputin, because he's dead but not dead,
He's a
Right.
lich.
So
If you know
so
your D&D lore, he is a lich.
yeah, so it's like, Bartok comes and finds him, and is talking to him, and things like, his lips have detached from his face and are sliding down his beard.
and then the hand, which then Rasputin picks up and puts right back where it's supposed to be.
It's gross.
Yes, it is, but it's also hilarious. Like my favorite one is like his head melts down into his rib cage, and it's just kind of laying there, and you see his ribs and the muscles. I mean, it's not like graphic, because I think is this G or PG? I can't remember. But it's just so ridiculous, and I love it. I don't know why. Like usually I don't like that gory, gross stuff, but this one is just it's just funny the way that they did it.
It's
and
G.
then also,
it is G.
Yeah.
And then we do have to make a little comment about Anastasia's cute little traveling partner that she finds out wandering in the woods.
Yes. Which I swear, I'm like, every time I see this, I'm like, oh, Puka's one of those. He knows. He's trying to. He's guiding her to her destiny of being.
Yes.
The Grand Duchess Anastasia.
She's like, give me a sign. Which way should I go? And this dog comes and steals her scarf, which she's out in the snow. Why isn't she wearing the damn thing?
Exactly.
And the dog takes off towards, the sign that's pointing towards St. Petersburg. And she's like, give me back my scarf. I'm looking for a sign. And I'm like, dum.
Yeah.
He is your sign.
He is your sign.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I can take a hint."
Yeah.
Oh,
After
and
a moment,
then Puka finds the jewelry box. It's like, here.
Yeah, because the music box is made so that you don't know that it's a music box until you turn the locket or the necklace in the locket. So Dmitri just assumes that it's a jewelry box. And even at one point, Vlad, Anya, I keep calling her Anastasia, but she is, but Anya finds
tomato.
Yeah. Same character. You know who I'm talking about. She picks it up, and Vlad's like, pretty jewelry box, right? She's like, are you sure that's what it is? And you can tell she's, remembering things, and she's like, something to do with a secret. So she's, so she's remembering these things. And then that's right before, so Rasputin sends his little glowing bat minions to go try to kill Anastasia. First time they crash the train, which is, they're in mortal peril, but they still find ways to banter and quip at each other, her and Dmitri. and then if
we get out of this alive, remind me to thank you.
So my favorite one is like the chain grabs the tree or whatever it is, and she goes, and to think that could have been you. Instead of, and then on the ship, Rasputin sends the little guys to give her a nightmare to make her sleepwalk off the ship in the middle of a storm, which that
for her it wasn't a nightmare at first. It was a pleasant dream.
Yes, because because she was remembering going on a picnic or a trip to the countryside with her family. She follows her little brother, and then she sees her sisters and her dad swimming in the lake, and they keep saying jump, jump, which that actually the real Romanovs, they did go on a lot of family trips to the country, and so they enjoyed that kind of thing. So that is a detail that is a good one. But then they turn into these horrific monsters, and Dmitri comes in and saves her, and it's very very charming, very gallant, and very very cute. But and then they finally make it to Paris. They have to talk to the Dowager Empress's cousin Sophie, played by Bernadette Peters, and Sophie and Vlad are sweet on each other, and it's like, is this a human or a cream puff?
Yeah. She kind of looks like a cream puff.
Oh yes.
Apparently, Bernadette Peters was not happy with the design of Sophie.
Well, I'm gonna say I really hope John Cusack was happy with the design of Dimitri, because damn. This movie came out at a certain time in my life, and yes, I've had a crush on Dimitri since then. Don't tell my husband, but yeah, there is a story that the animators, when they were designing Dimitri, they wanted to make him less attractive, so they put a bump on his nose to make it look like they'd like broken it, and I'm like, and it's like, no, that had the opposite effect.
It finally occurred to me earlier today, because of the design of Dimitri, because John Cusack, you know what he looks like. It's like dark, like super dark hair, almost black hair. He, you know what he looks like if you've seen him in stuff. But between the design of Dimitri and his voice, he was coming off as he kept reminding me of somebody, but I could not for the life of me figure out like that voice with this with this look of this character. It's like, who is this reminding me of? And it finally occurred to me earlier, he reminds me of Chris Pine.
Yes.
He sounds like Chris Pine, and Dimitri looks more like Chris Pine than John Cusack. So in my head, I was seeing and hearing Chris Pine in like the first Wonder Woman movie.
If they ever were to make a live action version of this, I mean, there's a musical, but we'll get to that too. Maybe Chris Pine could play Dimitri. I don't know.
Maybe.
In fact, like I said, like
he can sing.
Yeah, there you go. Clearly that is not John Cusack singing.
No. He actually admitted after he had already been hired that he could not sing. They had to find somebody to sing for him.
It's not like that is unheard of in these animated movies to find a singing voice.
Sometimes you hire someone who can do both, and then sometimes you need to, in the case you got Bernadette Peters, obviously she can sing, so they didn't need to dub her. They didn't need to dub Kelsey Grammer either.
No.
For Vlad, because he can sing. Christopher Lloyd they did dub with.
It was years before I realized that was not Christopher Lloyd singing, because it's Jim Cummings.
It's Jim Cummings.
And it's like, wow, just it is so seamless between the speaking role of Rasputin and the singing part of Rasputin. It's like that. I mean, granted, this came out when I was like 12, and I watched it throughout middle school and high school. But it's just like there are just some things that just floor me when I find out about them. I'm like, that's Winnie the Pooh singing as Rasputin. So yeah, and then like I said, this was I was early teens when I saw this, so I didn't know what John Cusack looked like. Then I saw what he looked like, and I'm like, that's not what I pictured. But whatever. So anyway, we get to Paris, and at this point the Dowager Empress is like, she's seen so many fake Anastasias that she's like, I'm done. Like, because every time someone comes and says, I found your granddaughter, and it turns out not to be true. I mean, that's got to be hard. Because people are playing with something. Like, you've lost your family, there's a possibility that one of them might still be alive, and people are just treating it as a joke, basically.
Well, so I mean, 10 million rubles.
Yes, this is true.
In that time period was chunk of change. I am
nothing to sneeze at.
I'm sure even today that's probably a lot of money. So
I mean, of course it's going to happen, but at the same time, I'm like, I can understand why. She's old, she's done, and of course this is right before the real Anastasia shows up in Paris on her doorstep. But they have to convince Sophie before they'll see the Dowager Empress. But so Sophie so during the interview, Sophie asks Anya, like, how did you escape? And you could see this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Is like she asks a question, and Dimitri, you can see him in the background. He just has, he just really acts like, oh, this is the one thing we didn't tell her, and he's like, oh, we're screwed. And then you see Anya kind of think she's got the necklace, and she's like, there was a boy in the palace who opened a wall, and Dimitri's like, wait a minute, that boy was me, because he was, the kitchen boy he worked in the palace. And then that's when he realizes we found her. Like, this is, and then he just kind of figures, by this time, it's a romance. There's a love story to it, and they
for this not being a Disney movie, it follows a lot of the tropes and steps.
Yes,
but it's also kind of, they put a lot of work into making the romance believable. I mean, there's the banter, there's the little jabs back and forth, but it's but you can it's the whole, I don't want to say enemies to lovers, because they don't really hate each other. They just kind of get on each other's nerves.
They were just strangers, people who didn't know each other.
Yeah.
Thrown into this situation, trying to make the best of it.
Yeah, and so, and then they kind of get to know each other as they go too, and he realizes that she's found her family. This is something that she was really wanted to know most of her life, and it would be wrong to take the money or
capitalize
just
on that.
Yeah, but he is just determined that she's going to meet the Empress, so they can be reunited. But he doesn't tell her, which I'm just like, oh, you idiot. But then again, they were lying to her from the beginning about why they wanted her to come do this, but whatever. But then there's that glorious scene where they go through Paris and they're shopping, and it's just so happy.
And they had to put a number in there to give Bernadette Peters a chance to do what Bernadette Peters does best.
Yeah. I mean, if you cast Bernadette Peters, you've got to have her sing. I mean, that's just wrong.
Give it,
and this is supposed to be the 1920s ish, so to give her some kind of like jazzy, number talking about how fantastic Paris is, it's right in her wheelhouse.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's another one. That's another fun one. And so like they're being happy and stuff, and Dimitri's just being morose because they're like, you found your family, and now, but like you can't be with me, and blah blah blah, whatever. Then they go to
I'm just a kitchen boy. It's a class thing.
Yeah, princesses don't marry kitchen boys, even though she's like she has no memory of her life as a princess or Grand Duchess, but whatever. So then they go to the ballet because that's where they're going to meet the Empress, and and you could kind of one thing that bugged me for a really long time is like, okay, Sophie told them about the ballet when she said that the Empress didn't want to see anybody, but she's like, okay, yeah, we'll get you in, don't worry. And she even like winks at Anya from across the theater when they're in watching the ballet, and Sophie and the Empress are in their royal box, or their special box in the theater. But then I realized that when Dimitri goes in to announce Anastasia to the Empress, Sophie's just like, no, you won't see anybody, but because she's like playing that up for the Empress. But then she says, yeah, you better go, because so like in that little bit, it's like, okay, she's saying, sorry, we couldn't get this done for you, even though we tried, but you gotta go now. But I love then Dimitri, is just very, nope, you're gonna meet her, you're gonna see this. And then the Empress just goes off on him like, you're a con man, you were holding auditions. And then Anya hears it from the door, and there's that classic either liar revealed or kind of misunderstanding / breakup by the at the end, at the third act. And then Anastasia chews him out. She is gonna leave.
She slaps him
in the middle of the theater. I mean, this is after the ballet's over and people are leaving. And she just storms off. I'm not even sure where they were staying now that I think about it, but Dimitri he sees the Empress leaving in her car. He dives in the car before the driver can get back in. And he basically,
don't mind me, I'm just gonna kidnap, the grandmother to the Grand Duchess of the Russian throne.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get out until I have a chance to talk to you.
Yes. It's like, this is probably a crime on some level, but he's like, I don't care.
Grand Theft Auto, attempted kidnapping, reckless endangerment.
Yeah, but it's just so heartfelt that he's like, he hands her the music box, and he's just like, I know you've been hurt before, but she's been lost and alone as you, and she's just like, and the Empress like, let's stop at nothing, won't you? He goes, I'm probably just as stubborn as you are.
If not more.
If not more. So then go ahead.
And then that's kind of the turning point where he's not in it for the money anymore.
No. No. It's like, I honestly, this guy, the way he started out as a, basically a con man trying to make some easy money, he would not go to these lengths just for money. I don't think. At this point, he's like, I'm doing this because he's doing this because he cares about Anastasia and because he wants her to be happy, and that's like just another great layer to the romance in it. So then so Empress goes up to see to meet this girl, to meet the girl that, and there's no coaching, she doesn't even realize that it's the Empress. She thinks it's Dmitri coming back to bug her, and so it's not like she's psyched herself up to meet this old woman, and she's just like, I don't know who I am. I want to know if I belong to a family, if I belong in your family. And the Empress is just sort of like, she's just made up her mind. She's like, nah, you're a good actress, but I've had enough. And then Anya smells the peppermint oil of her hands, and then she remembers that when she's little, she spilled a bottle. She has all these things, and she shows her the necklace, and the Empress hands her the music box. She turns it on, sings the song, and there you go.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
Grandmama has her granddaughter back, and they both know it, and they're both like,
they know it's legit.
They know it's legit. Anastasia remembers who she is. She remembers her memory or her family, and later they're reminiscing about because the Empress grandmama has this box of things from back then, and they're just looking at pictures and a drawing that Anastasia gave her, and it's just so sweet.
Which actually did exist.
Yes. I wonder.
Anastasia had written a letter to her father, saying she had drawn this picture, and she complained that her sister Olga, that's who she's talking about when she's talking to her grandmother. She's like, Olga said it looks like a pig riding a donkey.
Yeah. I'm trying to see because I put together a Pinterest board, two Pinterest boards, one of Anastasia of historical pictures and things. I do not have that particular one. I'll have to find it. Yeah. And a board for the musical Broadway, but yeah, so it's and then it cuts to them seeing she's in the pretty ball gown. They're going to announce that she's that they found the long lost princess, and there's going to be this huge party, and it's going to be awesome. And Rasputin is all he's coming
not
to get
on my watch.
Yeah. Seriously. So we're all geared up for the final showdown, pretty much. Dmitri meets with the Empress. She offers him the money, and he doesn't take it. And he,
Anyone else reminded us of Spaceballs?
A little. I was kind of getting the Han Solo Princess Leia vibe, like, nothing. You're not in for nothing but the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when Grandmama's telling Anastasia, she's like, no, he didn't take the money. And I'm like, yeah, he only took 187 space bucks for gas.
Yep.
Gas, money, food, and tolls.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if that was if that's what they were thinking.
Well, there's
when
a
they
there's
wrote
a
that
there's
scene.
a
Here
it could be that. Who knows?
Who knows? It's funny how these things. Oh, but
Somebody had to pay for Puka's outfit.
Yeah.
right. I mean, Vlad and Puka are getting ready for the party, and because Vlad, he was part of the Russian court and all those sorts of things. So he's coming back. He's coming back into his own. He's coming back to where he feels like he belongs. So it's like, he and Sophie are gonna go be a thing. But yeah, so they're about to go out to the party. There's all these people there, and Anastasia's got her sparkly crown and her pretty dress, and deciding what she wants to do. And then no matter what, her grandmother says, we'll always have each other. It's like, because she's found her family finally, and so she has a decision to make. Is she gonna go be publicly the Grand Duchess Anastasia, or is she gonna go after Dmitri? And Dmitri is at the train station thinking he's gonna leave, but then he finds a flower, as you do in these kinds of stories. And he goes back, and in the meantime, Rasputin shows up because Puka's kind of led Anastasia out into the garden. Like, Puka. And then Rasputin's there, and he's staring her down, and she remembers who he is, and he's gonna kill her, and that's seems like what's gonna happen. And then Dmitri comes in, and Rasputin uses his evil powers to make a statue come to life and try to kill Dmitri, while Anastasia is dangling off a bridge.
And Puka's doing his best trying to take Rasputin down from at the ankles.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, I'm like, that can't be very tasty, but whatever.
No.
I mean, a lich. Nomming on his leg. Ew.
Yeah. Puka, you don't know where that's been. There's other chew toys.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, it's the third act climax. They fight, and you think that Anastasia's fallen to the river. In fact, Dmitri even thinks so, and he dives off like he's gonna go after her, and then the giant horse statue grabs him and flings him back onto the bridge. And
this entire final showdown with Rasputin is it's dark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can see she's
creepy.
Yeah, I mean, he's ripped up her dress. She's dangling off by a piece of rebar in the broken bridge, and he's gonna drown her. And then she climbs back up, tackles him, kicks the reliquary away, and they fight over that. Puka grabs it and she stomps on it. It just kind of
thank heavens for the high heels that stick.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Anywhere.
I know, that was I was very impressed when I was a kid and I saw that. I'm like, dang, those shoes. Yeah, she was like, this is for Dmitri, this is for my family. And it's just great because you've just seen this girl just she is just this orphan kid at the beginning, and now she's figured out who she is, and she's not gonna put up with this crap anymore. And then she stomps on it, destroys it, and he melts.
And it's gross.
That
is a graphic villain death for a rated G cartoon.
Yeah, he melts and then he turns into dust and goes poof.
And you see a skeleton and then it blows away.
Yeah.
Bartok, on the other hand, he's run off because this can only end in tears.
Yes.
Yeah. Bartok for being
he yeeted out of there way early.
Yeah, he's like, you're on your own.
He was pretty smart. Yeah. Like, I don't know about this, boss. He's trying to play
and he
reason and smart, but no.
Yeah, at the end he was like, oh, we're just going to go to a party. Who cares? Like, forget about the girl and get a life. he's done.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's just funny. But yeah, then we all for a minute they think Dimitri's dead because he got hit by a rock with the crumbling statue, but no, he's alive, and there's this very sweet moment, and they're like,
it's like, yeah, men are stupid, or something to that effect.
or all men are babies, because earlier she was like scoffing, like, men are such babies, because she accidentally clocked him in the nose when they were on the train. But yeah, he got pretty beat up. But yeah, so they're like, okay, are you going to, like, what are you gonna do? You going to go back and be a Grand Duchess, or are you gonna go run off and be Mrs. Dimitri? Or what are you
right
do?
up into the sunset.
Yes. So she leaves her crown behind and leaves a note for her grandmother and says, we'll be together in Paris soon. And Sophie's like, they eloped. It's a perfect ending. No, it is a perfect beginning.
Right. Well, and she kind of knew, because Grandma kind of telegraphed to her. It's like, hey, I can kind of tell you don't want this. I'm giving you my okay with that hug. It's like, go after him.
You've got an out. Take it.
Yes. Yes. I'm giving you an out here.
Yeah, and it's not like,
if
I
were you.
Yeah, and it's not like they can't, she can't come back and see her grandmother and that kind of thing, and they couldn't have a relationship, but at the same time it's like, this this world of royalty and stuff, it doesn't exist anymore. In fact, I love where the movie ends. I really do. I think it's just a good ending for this story, for the story they set out to tell. I don't want them to do a sequel, because it would suck. That being said, there's part of me that's like, I just kind of wonder what it would be like for her to, live with this knowledge of, she's a princess. Her life could have gone so differently if her country wasn't in such disarray. What would have happened, or or is she just gonna go off and not be part of this anymore, or not be affected by it, I guess.
Yeah, because they leave all the politics out of it.
Yeah,
unless you know your history, it's like, she could have stayed with her grandmother, but she just probably would have been living in Paris, because technically I guess she could lay claim to the throne, but there's no throne to claim at this point.
It's all gone.
The country is no longer a monarchy rule. It's
I guess she could
supposed to be a democracy, but it's gone into communism, is what it's gone into at this point. But it's not a monarchy rule anymore.
She would not be able to go back to Russia,
she would not be welcome.
Which I don't think she wants to anyway.
Yeah. There's nothing for her there anyway.
No, there really isn't. And so it's like, she's going to marry Dimitri, this commoner. So it's not like, I'm going to marry into one of the other royal families. Now she's going to go live her own life. So it's, I don't know. It's probably something that I'm sure fanfic is covered somewhere. So
I'm sure.
I might just, or, I'll just enjoy this movie. Just, it's the story, the music, the animation. And it's 97, so they blend, so they put a lot of CG with the traditional animation, and you can tell. I don't care. Especially like the music box, the design of it is just so pretty. And and some of the the glittering, the glitter on the dresses, and the backgrounds during the Perry holds the key to your heart scene. It's all done in I think, is it called Impressionism?
Yeah, they all takes from like the French impressionistic art style, and there's a whole bunch of like cameos of different French people of note.
Yeah. So it's
in there. So
it's very clever how they do a lot of this stuff. And I also love, I mean, it does, like the weather even, it doesn't quite make sense for how long it takes them to get there, but they start out in Russia and it's just snowing and cold and gross and gloomy. And then as they leave Russia, it's kind of more fall colors and it's a little brighter, but not quite, she's not quite there yet. But then she gets to Paris and it's like it's springtime almost, or summer, I guess. So it's just kind of like, yeah, it doesn't quite make sense for the seasons how it should be, but at the same time, it's like it's a good symbolism of what's going on in the story. So I do like that you go, and I love the bit where when they're on the boat and she's still in her orphan rags, and then Dmitri says, "Look, I bought you a dress." And that's the last time you see her in the rags, because from then on she wears nice dresses. And then they're like that
and somehow her hair grew like a foot.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always
yeah.
Yeah, that always
extensions. I'm not sure if they had those back in the day.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell, when she's in her orphan outfit, that some of her hair is like wound around her ponytail, or however that works. But yeah, she grows princess hair.
Yeah.
And it's like
Reverse of Rapunzel from Twisted.
Yes.
Or Tangled, I mean.
Tangled, yeah. It's like, maybe, that's just how it is. You become a princess and you get the hair.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
But yeah, so it's just, I don't know. It's a fun movie. It's always been one of my favorites. And yeah, it's not historically accurate. It never pretends to be.
Mm-mm.
You just you watch it for the story of a girl who is figuring out who she is and how she ends up doing that.
Yeah.
And so and now it's, I mean, and for years there was the joke of, oh, she's not a Disney princess. People stopped saying that. Well, Disney bought Fox, so now she is.
She's adopted.
She's an adopted Disney princess.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
She's been brought into the fold.
She has indeed. And like I mentioned a couple times, there is a Broadway musical. Now the musical actually does go into politics a little more, the history of it. Rasputin's not in it. There's no magic or no talking bat or anything like that. And it's fine. The only thing I don't really like about it is the connection between Anastasia and Dmitri, like how they initially met. Because in the movie, he saves her and her grandmother from the siege of the palace.
Revolt, yeah.
The revolt, yeah. In the musical, they sing a song about how he's there was like some big parade when the royal family came out, and he saw her, she saw him in the crowd. And I'm like, that's not as believable as him saving her from the siege. But oh well, that's really my only complaint about the musical. Everything else is really good. I mean, they keep a lot of the songs. There's even a little motif that they keep from In the Dark of the Night, which is the Rasputin villain song, but they repurpose it for a different song about leaving Russia. Like, these people are trying to get out of Russia, and go on the train to go somewhere else, so they don't have to live here and all this. Yeah, so they do more with the history and the politics, and it's more, and the villain is an officer who's like trying to make sure that the rumored Anastasia really is dead. So he has sort of the same motivations as Rasputin, but for different reasons.
Mm-hmm. Which I think was the route that they were going to go originally.
Mm-hmm.
In like one of the early drafts of the script.
Yeah.
But as they were looking at it, and comparing it to what actually happened in real life, and they're like, yeah, no, this is going down a route that's not children friendly at all.
This is a kid's movie. We are not going to show the execution of the Tsar and his family. In fact, in the musical, they do. It's kind of like, is very clever in this little kind of flashbacky way. where like Anastasia and this officer are like staring down each other, and then like in the background you see the royal family like backing up, and these soldiers are pointing, or aiming guns at them, and they're about to be killed, and it's just like, it's that, I mean, the musical gets dark in some places for being based on a kids movie. But yeah, so I do like the musical, with the exception of that one little detail of Anya and Dimitri, but you can't win them all.
Yeah. Yeah. You can only do so much with subject matter that the truth really is. It is dark, but it's so strange too.
Yes.
Compared to the story that we get in this movie too. I said towards the beginning, if you want to watch something that is more historically accurate, and obviously not a children's animated movie, but is somewhat more historically accurate, and you're like that type of thing, kind of historical dramatic movies. I have a bit of a personal connection to this movie now, but Nicholas and Alexandria from 1971, I would suggest watching it. It's kind of long. It's like 3 hours or something like that. So like it's because it covers from Alexi's birth through their end, the Romanovs end. So it covers a number of years in its storytelling, but it does cover quite a bit more, including the political unrest, Bloody Sunday, which was a big kind of black check mark in the Tsar's rule, where he made some big mistakes, and it ended up costing people's lives, and that was actually several years before he was forced to abdicate. But it's got several Doctor Who connections.
Yes.
If for anything else, you've got Michael Jaston, the future Valeyard, playing the Tsar, and Tom Baker playing Rasputin.
Which, if you don't think someone is perfect for something until you actually hear that, and you're like, oh yeah, that works.
Yeah. And I mean, this is 1971, so this is pre Fourth Doctor. So this is before he got onto Doctor Who. But it's wild. You can kind of see some of the, I think that's just Tom's personality in general, poking through. Just kind of this bombastic type, because Alexandra in this movie is played by Janet Sussman, who is DJ Nick's cousin, and we interviewed her on Gold Standard last year. You can go listen to that episode. It's in the feeds. And yeah, she said that you did not act with Tom Baker, you acted around Tom Baker. You just let Tom do his thing, and you just followed his lead.
I'm not surprised at all.
So, yeah. So yeah, but it's more historically accurate as far as events during that decade or so, not quite a decade of time, and you can see why with the animated movie they decided to go a different direction, because the story is just woo. But it's because of what happened after Nicholas was forced to abdicate, and what happened to the family, and how they were forced to first, leave, their palace or whatever, and sent into exile, and they got moved around several times. Like at one point they were sent to like Siberia in the middle of nowhere where it was cold and snowing and all this stuff. So they kept getting moved around from place to place to place, supposedly under the guise that they were being protected from the revolutionists.
It really was because, well, I mean, there's competing rumors, but a lot of it was because they're like, oh no, their sympathizers are going to find them and rescue them, and we don't want that. So
they so eventually they were taken to the house where they were kept essentially under lock and key. They were only allowed out into the small yard for like an hour a day. All the windows were painted over because supposedly it was for their protection, because then if nobody could see in, then it's like somebody could shoot them through the windows or whatever. And it finally got to the point where they heard that, well, it depends on whose account you listen to. That's the thing, is there's so many conflicting accounts on what exactly happened. But what we do know is eventually the family was awoken in the middle of the night under the pretext that they were going to be moved again. But they needed, but the supposedly, anti-Bolsheviks, is what they were, people against the monarchy, were approaching the house, and therefore they told them that the basement would be the safest place for them. No windows, that sort of thing. But what actually was is they put them down there so they'd have no place to go. Once they were all down in the basement together, some guards came down and opened fire. And executed them all. Unfortunately, not everyone died right away. And supposedly at least one of the children was still alive when they went to move the bodies and bury them. So they did, some of them were shot beyond the initial execution. There was some beating of, it was gruesome. I will not get into it. I will have YouTube videos that you can watch that talk about it. But the family was essentially put into like mass graves, but they were separated because it would make it harder for people to come and dig them up. And because not the entire family's remains were found right away, some people were convinced that some of the children survived. And that's where the rumors started to come from.
And people capitalized on those rumors. I mean, there's this whole big saga of a woman named Anna Anderson who claimed she was Anastasia. And which is, I mean, there was a movie in 1957 about Anastasia that this movie is loosely based on. More of the kind of was that what if scenario of what if this really did happen and she did survive. I was just going to quickly recommend, and I'll put we'll put this link in the show notes. So I mean, I recommended the Romanov sisters earlier. I also recommend the book The Family Romanov Murder Rebellion and the Fall of Imperial Russia by Candace Fleming. That one, I mean, it is a fascinating book. It also has a very I don't want to say detailed, but it's like a firsthand account from one of the executioners of like what happened when they executed the family.
And then what they did with the bodies after.
So if you really want to read that, I mean, it's a great book. It's just that description is very haunting. And then there are like there's photos of the room after everything was cleared out, out the bodies were taken away, but
the room where it happened.
The room where it happened, yeah.
You do not want to know how the sausage was made in this one, folks. If you got
no,
especially because it wasn't just like Nicholas and his wife, but it was their children.
Yeah, I mean, Alexei. I mean, the older girls, they were like, before all this happened, they were meeting young men to court and everything. They were thinking of marriage, but Alexei, well, he was 13 when he was executed.
They were just trying to keep him alive.
Yeah, because of the
hemophilia.
Yeah, which I kind of wonder like what would have happened if he hadn't been, if he hadn't had hemophilia, if he was healthy. It just kind of seems like that they had, because they had such a hard time having a boy, because the son has to inherit, and if some of that stress just kind of added to Nicholas not being a very good ruler. I mean, I feel so bad for the man because he just wanted to be a dad to his kids. He wanted to be a husband and a father. I mean, he loved his wife.
Yeah,
I mean, he and Alexandra,
up until the end, they had a very, very passionate marriage.
Yes, they were a very tight knit family. I mean, there's some photos that I have on the Pinterest board. There's one that shows Alexandra with a couple of her daughters, and that looks like they're just, I mean, if you didn't know there was a royal family, and yes, they're like dressed nicely, it's like, this looks like a mom taking her kids to the library or to the grocery store or something like that.
Yeah. With the girls, they didn't treat them like royalty.
No, like the girls had chores. They had to, they did things. They
made their beds.
And that kind of thing. So they didn't, I mean, yes, they lived in these opulent palaces. They weren't raised like royalty, if that makes sense. I mean, they were, but they weren't. Not the way you would think.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so they had responsibilities and they had things, but they were also, they were very close family, very tight knit, and they all cared about each other, and
I think mom and dad were trying to keep them grounded so they knew how to interact with their fellow.
Yeah. Well, Alexandra came from noble blood. I mean, as far as Nicholas's family was concerned, she wasn't noble enough, but they fell head over heels for each other. So,
yeah, she's like a granddaughter of Queen Victoria.
Yeah.
Like she was married into one of a German, or I mean, she was born into a German family, or what would become Germany anyway. So that's where she came from.
Yeah.
And she converted to Russian Orthodox Christianity, or the Russian Orthodox Church, and took on a Russian Orthodox name and all these things, so she could marry Nicholas.
Yeah. And her faith was extremely important to her, and when she finally got to have the son that that she and Nicholas always wanted, and realized almost immediately that I don't know if they knew what what exactly hemophilia was, and if that was a name that they actually used then, but they knew that there was some sort of family line. We know now it's genetics, but they would not have known that in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that there was some sort of something passed down through the family line, through the women to the men. I don't know if hemophilia, is that only a male?
Yeah,
are afflicted with it, and it's carried by female.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like it's recessive. How does it work? It's recessive, but it's linked to the X chromosome. So boys, they only get one X chromosome from their mother.
Right.
So if there's not an X chromosome to counteract it, then the recessive gene is what shows up. So if the girls had lived, they probably would have passed it on to their sons if they lived and married and had kids.
Yeah. So when she realized that the son that she always wanted was afflicted with this royal curse, essentially, that she became very, very protective, because she knew just how the life expectancy for, especially during this time, of someone with hemophilia was really, really not long. In theory, he would not have lived long enough to become Tsar. So they really, really tried to keep him in a bubble. And when he had some sort of incident, and he was really, really ill, and that was Alexandra was kind of at her wit's end, and she'd heard about Rasputin and sent for him, and he came and supposedly prayed for the boy and all of this, and then like the next day, like poof, he was fine, when in reality it was just, give him time, let him rest, and he may get better. Same thing when he had another incident where he injured his leg, and Rasputin couldn't physically be there, but she sent him a letter, and he responded, and he's like, tell the doctors to leave him alone, say your prayers, that sort of thing, and I promise he will be fine within a day or two. And that's exactly what happened, when really, just leaving him alone is what did him good, because they were doing things like treating him with, like, would be the equivalent today of like Tylenol, which is a blood thinner.
Oof.
Which, when you have someone who can't clot their blood anyway, giving him a blood thinner
is
like
help.
the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
So, or aspirin, I think, actually, Tylenol. Because that's like why they have, like, people that have suffered like our heart attacks, they tell them to take like an aspirin a day to prevent clogs and to keep the blood flowing. So, but they were giving him essentially medicines that were thinning his blood, causing him to bleed even more, on top of just the non-ability to clot blood in the first place. So it was one of those things where it's like every time Rasputin supposedly did something that made him better, it was just purely coincidence. But the Dutch, the Tsarina was just so convinced that this man had power from God, that she just became like this devout fanatic of Rasputin, and he really did get in with her and the children and stuff. But eventually his just kind of philandering, partying ways got the best of him, and he ended up being killed by like the queen's cousin or something like that. So
it's
he was actually dead for quite a while before the Romanovs had to go into exile and were eventually killed. So, but he supposedly told her that if he was to die at the hand of someone from her family, that it would trigger her family being dead within the year. And that actually did happen. Again, purely coincidental. But
it's
still
eerie. It is very eerie.
It is very eerie. So, like I said, you can go down the actual history rabbit hole. Just know that it is not family friendly.
No, like I said, there's
and I learned I first learned about this in high school. It was funny because when we decided to do this, and I was like, oh, that's great. It's like the Romanov history of the Romanovs is I first learned about them in freshman history in high school. I was assigned. We were assigned to do group projects to report on something in class, and I got paired up with another student to and this was our topic, was to talk about the fall of the Romanovs, I think. And the student that I was paired with has now been my best friend since then.
Awesome.
we've been best friends for over years.
Well, there you go.
We got randomly put together in freshman history class to talk about this family.
Yeah, so it is a very it's a fascinating and sad story, but oh gosh, it's and like I said, I mean, we've said several times before, the movie is not historically accurate. It is not trying to be, but for me anyway, it gave me a kind of an impetus to learn more about this subject, learn more about this history, and I'm like, for that, I mean, it can't be horrible, and it's not. And a lot of people.
I mean, it's a good movie. I mean, for it, obviously Disney set the bar very high for animated feature films. So that's who everybody still competes with, even to this day. And
but this one really gave Disney a run for their money for several years. I mean, that was kind of 97 was kind of the time when Disney
the Renaissance was kind of petering out.
Yeah. So it was a good time for someone else to come in and be like, hey, we can do this fairy tale princess thing too. And I mean, it's not fairy tale strictly, but it's it hits the same beats.
Yes.
But it's so if you haven't watched it, it's on Disney Plus, so go watch it, for heaven's sake.
Disney owns it now.
So I mean, I will say this, I've because I started doing voice lessons sometime after I saw this movie, and for my first voice recital, I sang Journey to the Past because I saw it was an option, and I'm like, I want to do that one. I also want to do Once Upon a December, but somebody else took it, so I'm like, fine, I'll do this other one because it's good too. So like I said, it's on Disney Plus. You can find the musical places on the interwebs. It's there. I mean, and you can listen to the soundtrack.
Buyer beware.
Yeah, buyer beware. And you can get the soundtrack. The soundtrack is good. I mean, it's based on the music from the movie. There's obviously more, new songs to it too. So the soundtrack from the musical is quite good. And so just check it out. And like I said, I put together a couple of Pinterest boards, one for historical, it's called Anastasia Romanov history, and then there's Anastasia on Broadway. So check those out, and all the links. I also found there's also some, you can see they actually did a proper funeral for the Romanovs in 1998. They exhumed the bodies and interred their bodies, their remains in a church, a Russian church, and the service is all in Russian, but it's beautiful, and it's kind of sad and poignant, but it just kind of feels right that they finally got a proper burial after so many years. So there's a couple of YouTube links. Well, there's one that's a shorter version, then there's one that's like over 3 videos, so if you really want to sit down and watch the longer one, you can. So we'll include all of this, and then some recommended books, and then there's some documentaries that Rachel found on there too. So check it out if you're interested. There's some good stuff in there. And again, it is a sad story and can be kind of graphic, or in the description, so just be careful. But yeah, so there's all of our Anastasia Romanov history that you ever wanted to know, or as much as we could put in our podcast anyway.
Yes.
Because we could sit here and talk or I could anyway. I don't know about the rest of y'all. But
yeah.
So anyway, go watch the videos, go read the books, go see the movie. It's awesome.
And then go watch the epic rap battles.
Oh yes, epic rap battle between Rasputin and
Stalin.
Stalin.
with some other appearances by some other noted Russians.
Oh,
the
Russia.
title is Rasputin versus Stalin. And again, it's epic rap battles, so not kid-friendly language.
No, indeed.
But every time
Anyway.
I think of Rasputin, that's what I go to in my
No, I think of the song on the Just Dance. I mean, it's not originally from Just Dance, but that's what I know it from because I love to do it. The Rasputin. Oh my gosh, that song! When I first heard it, I'm like, this is so ridiculous, but I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
they wanted to put that in the movie, but they couldn't get the rights to it.
oh my gosh, I'm kind of glad they didn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if any of our listeners want to chime in on Anastasia, whether it's the movie, the musical, the other movie, any of the history to it, if you have a book recommendation or something of that nature, send us feedback. Our email address is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com, and find links to all our social media, and you can leave comments. We also have links to Patreon, Amazon, our Amazon store, our merchandise shop, and just ways that you can help us support the podcast to keep us coming around on your into your podcast feed thing. Yes, it's Monday,
Technology.
technology. It's Monday, and I'm about had it today. And thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for sending feedback and whatever it is you do. We're glad to know that you're out there, and hope you all have a wonderful week and enjoy whatever it is you're doing, and stay safe out there.
Yeah. So with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Sally from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. A party? Ooh, I could teach you the latest dance step. It starts with like a whoa, and then you get really crazy with the hips, sir. It's fun!
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at thefiveishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/fiveishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/fiveishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/fiveishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.